Babalo, babalo, canta. Oh, hello, I didn't see you coming. Hey, Lucy, come on up, we have company.
KHRO 1150 AM. We're back on the show with Hector and Abel on a beautiful Saturday in El Paso, Texas. That music theme song from the Lucy and
I Love Lucy.
I Love Lucy show.
And our guest
Produced
now
by
with us.
Desi Arnaz.
Our guest now with us on the telephone, Rick Najera, the author of the brand new book called Almost White, Forced Confessions of a Latino in Hollywood. Rick, you know why I played the theme song from I Love Lucy, don't you?
Yes, I do, because I work in Hollywood. I'm a fan of Desi Arnaz, and we both create television.
And you mention him in your book. You actually call him a radical.
Radical. He was radical.
He was nuts.
He was out there singing the song Babalu.
Uh-huh.
If you take apart the words to Babalu, it's about a guy going to a santera. You know, he's making aguardiente. He's doing this whole thing, and it's to get the love of a negra bembona, which is basically a thick black woman. So
sounds good to me.
Is talking about Cuba, thick black women, santeria, all that. In basically in America during its most conservative time.
Rick, they didn't even know what he was singing, right, Rick?
No, not at all. He'd been singing, you know. There's a lot of. Well, imagine a country love song with all the F words in it. But this people they only speak Spanish wouldn't understand what they're saying.
Rick, I often say that sometimes it seems that during the late 50s or early 60s when I Love Lucy was on, there were actually more positive role models, especially for Latino young men, than there are now. We had not only Desi Arnaz, we had Zorro, we had the Cisco Kid. I don't think that we have any heroes like that on television anymore, any Latino heroes.
Well, not really. I mean, the hard part is you create the media, but you have to be inside the media to really make a difference. In other words, we had those stories of Zorro. We had Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz created, wrote. He was involved in every aspect of his show. So the image was of him who was married to Lucy. So it was a truthful image. Zorro, of course, was a fantasy, but Zorro was the idea of the noble Latino, against injustice. So for a lot of Latinos, those are great images.
And Desi Arnaz also created the 3-camera technique of shooting television shows.
Sitcom,
Live audience.
Went on to Untouchables. They created so many different shows.
Right, and you know what's funny? I actually got to meet Desi Arnaz when he was campaigning for the Latino vote for Ronald Reagan. Believe it or not, he came here. He came through here through El Paso, and I had to tell him that there wasn't many Republicans here. So when we got to the event, he said, what's neat is that he starts telling his stories, man, and here come all the Latinos gathering around to listen. But he saw how empty it was. He said, "Abel, llévame allá al hotel," And you were right. He's a radical guy, and people don't understand that down there by the Paramount lots was the original Desilu Studios that he owned, and that he would have he like any other Latino like to maybe do a couple of copas, but they would find him walking around, and they didn't even know who he was, and they say, "Hey, that's Desi Arnaz. He owns 10 square blocks here."
Yeah,
Rick,
he was an amazing man. I mean, more people watched his show than the presidential inauguration at that time.
Wow.
Rick, your book is called Almost White, Forced Confessions of Latino in Hollywood. I'm interested in that adjective force. It reminds me of my ex-wives, where they would say, "You must tell the truth." Admit it. Why force?
That's why they're your ex-wife.
Absolutely correct.
Why force confessions? And in explaining your book and the title of your book, tell us about your incredible background, not only your personal background, but you also have an incredible professional background, not only as a performer, a comedian, a producer, a director, a writer.
Well, I think for me, I'm Mexican, so number one, we have a great work ethic. My dad went to Vietnam during the Tet Offensive just for the overtime.
Oh,
helicopters.
there you go.
Yeah, that's the work. And I think with Latinos, we're such a hardworking people that I end up being a writer, director, producer. I've end up being that. I wrote a Mad TV. I wrote for shows like In Living Color. I wrote a film called Nothing Like the Holidays, starring John Leguizamo and Deborah Messing and Alfred Molina. I've directed at CBS the diversity program for almost 9 years, and now that program as a director, 16 are series regulars on TV, and 3 have gone on to Saturday Night Live. And Latino Logs, my play that was on Broadway, had Eugenio Derbez, Jaime Camil in starring roles. So I've always been a guy that's been a bridge between our culture and the general culture, but also a bridge between us and Mexico by bringing in Latino stars and being in English programming.
There are some very well-known individuals, including Whoopi Goldberg, who have been important to you and your experience in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's funny. Last night I was at the Alma Awards, and here I'm at the Alma Awards. My neighbor's Edward James Olmos.
Another guy that I actually know personally.
Eddie, do you want to ride to the Alma Awards? We're both going. He's going to get an award, and I'm walking down the red carpet. And he goes, "Oh, I'll pick you up." And so he shows up with, the town car and everything. And, of course, when I go with Eddie, it's a whole different, being treated. I mean, I get a lot of good treatment, too. But
yeah, but
Eddie
you're
is
even
like
more
a
recognized.
Godfather. So we went everywhere, and we had a great time. And, I think in Hollywood, these great and influential people I've worked with and know, it's kind of like a family in an odd way, because we're part of this Hollywood family. So people like Whoopi Goldberg I knew, and Keenan Ivory Wayans when I was on Living Color, are all these different stars that have worked with me. They really kind of become family after a while.
Cheech Marin, also a friend of yours.
Yeah, he directed Latino Logs on Broadway. And I've as a kid, here I'm hanging out with Cheech, and I'm remembering, the albums are like, Dave's Not Here.
Right.
This
Class!
yeah. Only diamonds can cut glass. It was like every single thing, it's jokes I would remember, he created. So that's a lot of fun.
Now, why force
Great
confessions?
like that.
Yeah, why'd you write the book?
I wrote the book because I wanted one. I had that big health scare where I went into a coma. For
I
2
read
weeks.
that. I read that in your book.
Oh yeah. I was just overworked, and I had pneumonia. I didn't know it, and collapsed and hit my head and nearly bled to death. So here I'm in the ICU, and I wake up, and there's Jacob Vargas, who stars in Selena and the new Cesar Chavez movie, looking across from me. And I was like, I was surrounded by a lot of Hollywood, and I had no idea. And I was out. I was gone. And luckily I came back, and I said, well, let me chronicle my life, because Latinos seldom really know about what we do and who we are and who our heroes are and everything else. So the book has a lot of history in it. It's really, some people, Forbes magazine did a great review, said it was required reading for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Oh, most definitely.
So if you want to get your history and you want to know about Hollywood and you want to know about Latinos and all that sort of, it's in this book told from the perspective of one single Latino, me.
Where is it? It's on sale now, right? At Barnes & Noble, all the Amazon.com.
Yeah, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, but, I get on Amazon.com, or you can go to my website at www.ricknajera.com. If you check out ricknajera.com, you'll learn more about me, but you'll also learn about the book, and it's a great gift. I joke with people. I say, if you're Latino, give it to your cousins. If you're Anglo, give it to your employees. Either way, you should get this book.
Excellent.
And
let's-
Anglo should read it too.
I think they should. But
Oh yeah,
let's talk.
It's a book for everybody. That's the great thing about it because, I don't want to, preach to the converted. We're Latino and we love it and we know who we are. I want to spread it to other people that don't know our culture and don't know our significance and we've given to this country. I mean, my father went to Vietnam. He went to World War II. My uncle died in World War II in a Japanese concentration camp in the Philippines. We've given my cousins in Iraq, Afghanistan. We've given a lot. I like to say I didn't cross the border crossed me. My family's originally from New Mexico and Chihuahua area when it wasn't a state.
So you've been down here to El Paso.
Oh, yeah. I had a cousin, Manny Najera, who lives in El Paso, other cousins. Yeah, I've been in El Paso. I performed in El Paso. I know the area. Yvette Ramirez, different people I know that are friends of mine down there. So I love El Paso. It's
Yeah,
really
there's a lot of interesting things going on here right now. A lot of people moved out of L.A. and ended up here. They had a family in Dallas that do special effects. And because of that guy living here, they're actually finishing a movie here in El Paso, adding the special effects and all that here in El Paso. So, it's good to talk to you because it sounds you and me have kind of been down the road. But I'd like to talk about the comedy side of you because I do a little comedy inside myself. And my question is, you tell me, I really, really feel that Culture Clash was going to be this huge door that was going to blow open, and yet, it didn't. And in L.A., the ratings on Saturday nights were beating Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, it is. I was one of the writer-producers on Culture Clash. So, I mean, I've worked on all these shows. So I can always tell you the inside of what happened. What happened, first of all, it wasn't in every single market. It was a Fox affiliate. It was in certain markets. I had people, telling me from New Mexico going, hey, I almost got your channel. Like they had, use a wire hanger in their TV or something back in the day.
Well, now there's cable.
Culture Clash. So the numbers were great. I worked on a film called A Day Without a Mexican. Those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great movie, by the way.
Oh, well, it's 10,000 per screen average on that film. So there's been many instances where Latinos' stories have really blown up, but Hollywood hasn't recognized that. Recently, Eugenio Derbez's film's done really well. Hollywood's starting to recognize Latinos more. We consume more film than any other group.
Absolutely.
We go out 8 times a month to see a movie, whereas other cultures don't. And so we're consuming the entertainment and we're paying for it. We just need to pay for the entertainment that we see ourselves in. It's great guys like Robert Rodriguez who do movies. That money goes back to Robert Rodriguez, which means it goes back to the Robert Rodriguez family, which means it goes back to the Robert Rodriguez community.
Right. It's all about family, like you said.
Yeah, it is.
On the other hand, Rick, we just had the Emmy Awards, and once again, Latinos were very, very underrepresented. There was an article in Huffington Post where they actually showed a chart of the percentage of Latinos.
Yeah, that's true. And the reason is because there's very few Latino writers.
Is that still a problem?
Oh, yeah.
I thought there's all kinds of writer workshops.
So you're saying there's not only not enough roles, there's not enough actors?
No writers.
No, there's plenty of actors.
They're all
not enough writers.
Writers, yeah.
Not enough writers.
It's the writers.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to write something, Rick. Okay,
We're sending it to you now.
I'm going to write something, and it'll be a big hit.
Yeah, write something and be a big hit. But when you think about it, when I was in A Living Color, there were no Latino writers. When I was on, Mad TV, there was no Latino writer in that. A lot of shows I've been on, I was the only writer, and many people. I'll tell you a story. It's in my book, Almost White. One of the producers turned to me, and I'm writing a scene, and it's about a woman who's always running from love. So she's running in the park, Central Park, and there's a conguero playing congas, and he goes out and goes, "Hey, don't run from love, baby. Don't run from love." And the other writer turns to me and goes, "Rick, what are you doing?" I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It's terrifying for a white woman to be yelled at by a Puerto Rican."
Yeah.
In Central Park. And I said, "Listen, Saul, he can't pick up the conga and run after her. He's part of a band."
Unless he has a strap like Desi.
Because he's in love with a conga more than the woman.
Yeah, more than the woman. And secondly, he's flirting with her. There's nothing
Sure.
intended. And I go,
Sure.
"It's the broad daylight with tons of people around. She'll be safe.
Exactly.
You know, I taught high school in California, and I remember I had students from all over Latin America and Mexico and everywhere. And I remember this one young woman asked me, "How come the guys don't whistle at us?
Yeah.
What's wrong with us?
What's wrong with them?"
Hey, listen, also talking about movies, and you were talking about box office. Were you impressed with Philly Brown? I follow movies like crazy because I did work with Edward James Olmos pushing a movie called The Ballad of Gregorio Cortez
Great movie.
here in El Paso, and understanding the dynamics of basically the bottom line is butts and seats at the theaters, you know, and that's all anybody really cares about after everything's done. But Philly Brown did over $1 million, like with very few screens. So what did you think of that?
Well, you know, I think it's an indication that, you know, one, it's a really good film. Two, you know, it's really a Edward James almost did everything he could to promote it. But, you know, once again, they didn't put a lot of marketing money in it. So what's amazing is there's films that go out there, give them tons of marketing and tons of money into it, and they'll do better. It's like me opening a restaurant in the middle of the desert, and I go, but I've spent no money on telling people it's in the middle of the desert. You have to go see this restaurant. Because once you get them there, that's the first weekend. Then you can tell, oh, the second weekend people came back, and now I have a business. Well, many times Latinos haven't had the marketing money behind their movies,
Exactly.
even though their movies do so great.
No, you know, why is it that, you know, and you brought this up right now, why is it that it had that quick early success, and you would have thought that any marketing genius in Hollywood would have said, we need to put money behind this, there's something there, and they just let it fizzle all the way out?
They dividend, you know, they put the money and they say, we're going to give it, what their feeling is what's successful. If I sat there and say, what's successful to me is they're only going to risk the least amount of money. So they put tiny little bit of money in marketing. If it does well, they go, great, we got our money back, leave it alone. They're not willing to risk the other money, where you go, well, you know, we got 10 million in ticket sales. You know, we pump up the marketing, and they'll put 5 million in. We're going to get 25 next weekend. And that's how normally it works. But with Latino films, people tend to be they don't have the same vision.
You think they'll ever release Boulevard Nights so I could see it again, other than when I was 13?
Yeah.
Why don't they release it?
Danny DePaz, I think Richard Iniguez is in that.
Yeah. You know,
a lot of guys I know. You know, they should release it again. I mean, there should almost be a place where Latinos can see their images on the big screen. And I think in the book, Almost White, it's about, look, you know, it's a call to action for Latinos to start writing their own material, getting behind the camera, and telling our story. I mean, Robert Rodriguez had done it. You know, I was at the Almo Awards, and he got an award. I was at the after party with him and Danny Trejo and Mario Lopez and everyone. And you think about it, Robert Rodriguez was outside of Hollywood.
Right?
yeah, it was in
Austin.
Austin, San Antonio area.
And a lot of times that's the thing. If you take your neighborhood that gives you all the support. I remember early days in Hollywood, they'd want me to write, they'd say, Rick, write about the pain of the barrio. The pain of the barrio, Rick. And I said, look, man, there's no pain in the barrio. In the barrio, your family's there, your neighborhoods are there, everyone you know is there. It's only when you leave the barrio,
Exactly.
that's where the pain is.
Yeah. On the
Exactly.
other hand, Rick, in your book, you say I joke mostly because it's how I deal with pain.
Pain, yeah.
I have to tell you also that I laughed from the second page or first page or so when you talk about how you collapsed and you practically bled to death. And you say, Susie, my wife, said I was unresponsive when she dialed 911. I was lucky my wife was Anglo. If she had been Latina, she would have never called.
Let her die.
She would have never called 911 until she had thought of a good alibi to tell the police.
Yeah, that was a joke I said. It's really true. 'Cause I'm going, you know, because she came in the door. I'm in a pool of blood, you know, in my
The cartel's
bed.
got him.
I finally crawled in the bed. There's blood all over the house. A good Latino would have gone, wait a minute, this is a crime scene. I am
Yeah.
not putting my fingerprints anywhere, and just walk out the door.
I'm not going to get blamed for this.
I'm not getting. She'd be taking a picture of herself with, you know, saying this is the time. This is where I was. She'd be calling up her girlfriend. Listen, girl, tell him I was at the club till 2 a.m. Okay? Call me. This guy looks like someone murdered him. I don't want them pinning it on me. You know, she was being Anglo. She was running up. Oh my God! You know, holding me, of course, and putting DNA evidence all over the place. But yeah, I said that, and then But I joke about that. What's great about comics is we joke about how we really do. Everyone thinks this way.
Most of the stuff that we say is actually true.
Yeah.
It wasn't funny when it happened, but it's funny now.
Yeah, distance makes funny.
Yeah, exactly, man. Or if it didn't happen to you, you know.
Rick, we've got just a couple of a few minutes left. I understand that you would be willing to take a call or two if one of our callers would like to talk to you.
We'd like to stay in touch with you and like bring you down on a speaking tour with your book.
I would love if you can get anyone to sponsor me to come out there for a book signing. I'll be there in a second.
Well, you know, I've also got a friend who works with me on something called Latinos Matter. You may have noticed that we started following you on Twitter, and we also promoted this interview a little bit on Twitter. And she is also very interested in bringing you to Dallas, so you're going to be hearing from her as well.
Yeah, you need to come to Texas, bro. We'll show you a lot of love.
Love the food. Love the people.
Okay, so if anybody would like to speak with Rick, there's a few minutes left at 880-4376. Also, we want to invite you, if you would like to get a copy of the book, and it's a terrific book. I haven't read it all yet.
Required reading.
I've read bits and pieces of it, and it's an excellent book, not only for people of Mexican background, it's our experience, but for all Latinos, and even for non-Latinos, so that they can understand what the experience is really all about. Because as you mentioned, Rick, having had your father in Vietnam, your family members in World War II, more recently in Iraq, I had my own nephew in Iraq. We're as American as they come, right? We just have a little something extra.
Oh, yeah. I think in many ways we're more American. We've been here longer.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you've been following the PBS special, but the first special, the first part of it was really sad for me because even the Californios, right, the Spaniards that were loving California, when the American, they call them on the special, they call them the white conquerors. They went to meet with this guy, and he wanted to try to say, let's live in harmony. What do you need, and all that. And all they wanted to do was conquer. We take it for granted that we can work with somebody and live with them on the same lands. And plus, look what happened.
Well, you know, we invited. It was funny in Texas. The Mexican government, the Mexicans living there, many are Texicans,
right,
invited the Anglos to Texas. You know, it'd be almost like, you know, you see someone and go, hey, come, we got an extra room in my house, go ahead and take it over. Mm-hmm. And they go, yeah, we took it over, now we want the house. Yep. You know, yep. They're not seen as hospitable. We're hospitable people. We invite people.
So tell us real quick, my question to you, and actually the main question that we've talked the way we have is, what has got to change in Hollywood, or is it just a matter always about money in order to do the projects that we need to see about? You know, Tyler Perry's doing all that wonderful black, you know, African American stuff. Where's our brown guys?
Well, you know, I mean, some people keep calling me the Tyler Perry, but I think there's other Tyler Perrys out there too. It's a cumulative effect. Tyler Perry was around the country in theaters, and when he turned around, the same people that followed him in theaters followed him in this movie. And in the same respects as Eugenio Derbez, the same people followed him in television, and also he did a tour of Latino Logs, 25-city tour. They knew his name, and they started following him to the movie theaters. And, you know, it's a good film, so it's a big part of it. We just have to keep doing what we're doing, but now do more of it. That's all. Because you can't deny the Latinos. We're 53 million. Our population is 53 million. We go to movies. Now we want to tell our stories. When there's a Latino story with your story, tell your friends and go see it. And, you know, tell your friends to get the book Almost White, because when they see a Latino author being supported, they assume Latinos support one another, and we got to invest in that community.
I should mention that the book is very affordable. Can be downloaded on Kindle for about $10. I think it retails for not more than about $15 or $16. So it's a very affordable book and very entertaining, very worthwhile. Rick, we had a caller right now that I guess they went away, but can you tell us before we run out of time, what do you have? What are your current plans? What projects are you working on?
I'm working on a project with George Lopez. It's an animation project, and it's a great project set on the border, and it's from one of my characters from Latino Log. And also I'm working with CBS with a diversity sketch comedy show that we're doing. We're going to film in November. And the book, and I'll be touring around different places that people, you know, you can get me to your city easy, invite me. I'll come on out there, read from the book, entertain you, have a good time.
We're going to have to talk to Barnes & Noble.
We're going to do that, man. That'd be a good Fox oldies type of production that we could do with you, and we are interested.
Yeah, I can do my book as a one-man show. Come on, bring it on out there. But you can learn more about me at www.ricknajera.com or Twitter me at Rick Najera, or me, if you want, go on the white page on Facebook, and I'm going to start giving away some books.
Very good, and we'll be giving away
the books too.
We're giving away a couple of books. All you need to do is go to the Fox 1150 Oldies on Facebook, like us, and post a message with your information saying, I would like a book, and give us your contact information, and we're going to choose the winners at random. I want to go ahead and thank you, Rick, very much for having been with us. As Abel mentioned, we'd like to have you back not only on the radio again at some point in the future, but of course we'd like to have you come in and do a book signing or another event. And again, we'll also be contacting you about doing something in Dallas, Texas as well.
I'd love to. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Rick, un abrazo, man. Like I used to say with Edward a long time ago, para la causa.
Para la causa.
You got it, brother. Thanks for the call. Wow, man, I love you. You books it.
You're talking about Rick or me?
No, you. First Pamplun, and now this guy. God, what's left next?
Well,
These are the kind of interviews that make the show with Hector and Abel the #1 talk show on Saturday.
I think the #1 talk show of all time ever.
Probably.
And here in El Paso. That's what some people are saying. And when I say some people, I'm using that old Fox News technique where you don't say who, you just say, it's said. Some people are saying. Some people believe.
And when we come back in the second hour, we're going to be talking about saving the Lincoln Center. And also, there's a race coming up, political race, that we'd be crazy if we didn't mention.
Before all that, we've got Congressman Silvestre Reyes coming up at 2 o'clock, and we're going to be talking to him about Obama.